Hey guys, this is Thomas from NurseMoneyTalk. And I never really thought I would be doing a video dedicated just to pens. But, well, here we are. And the thing about it is that, pens are actually very important. The thing, even in the digital age that we live in right now, there's still a lot of value to having a good pen. So if you're in school, even if you type things out, you might not be a good typer or good, typist, if you will. You might not be allowed to record, so that might not be an option. And so in a lot of ways, you still end up having to resort to the typical pen and paper. So move past the school setting for a second, right? So you're working. So, you could be working as a nurse, a doctor, physical therapist, whatever the case may be. This is a nursing channel, so we'll focus on nurses. But, a lot of this is applicable to, to any student or to any healthcare worker. But even in, kind of like this world of electronic chartings, the EMRs of the world, and, we're trying to move to everything being digital, what do we end up doing? We still end up relying on paper. Actually, there was a video that I did, and in that, it was actually, I think it might have been like a TikTok video. I'll put that link in the description below. But in that video, I kind of was at a point where I was asking, if we're in this kind of this digital age of electronic charting and whatnot, why do we still have so much pen and paper? Why are we still double charting? But, I digress from that. The point of this being that pen is still important. I think in a lot of ways we end up pens, the pens that we use end up being an afterthought, but I actually think it shouldn't be. Because I think, I know for me, especially if I'm doing a lot of writing, how my hand feels in terms of cramping, especially, if you have arthritis in the hands or anything like that. And even my handwriting can be affected so much by the pen, by the quality of the pen that we have. And a lot of the pens hospitals provide, I'm not even sure they're worth 25 cents. I mean, they're the cheapest things possible. They probably buy them in super bulk or whatever. And so they honestly just suck. And so I don't like using them, so I always get my own. For me personally, and I'll put a link in the descriptions below to some of my, I would say runner-up pens, if you will, because there's really only one type of pen that I use, and that's honestly these that I have right here, all the same ones, and these are the Pilot G2s. I like these pens for several reasons. One, my handwriting, I write pretty well with them, and they fit a lot of the points that I'm gonna mention, or at least most of them, because as you'll see, there are a couple of points on here that these pens don't quite fit. And so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go down and then list out, some, what I would consider probably some pretty important qualities of a good pen, if you will, that you should have. Number one is quick drying. A lot of the stuff that that we're signing or that we're writing in, especially if you're still in a area where it's still paper charting, or a lot of it is still paper charting and then getting signed in, you don't really want it to smush. It doesn't look good, and for what ends up being potentially legal documents brought in front of a jury or a judge, if you will, if your case was to go to trial. It's important to have a pen that dries quickly, and so to make it legible. Now, the thing about these pens, if you've ever used any of these pens, they're not, they're not really what I would consider hard to find. They're pretty common, but is that they can smush, but they're not the quickest drying pens, but that is something to keep in mind. The second point is that you want a pen that's ideally refillable, because especially if you're buying more premium pens, which is kind of what I'm suggesting that you do, you'll want to be able to refill it. Number 3 is just knowing what the point thickness is. Some people, I think some people just write better in different point thicknesses than others. And so that might be something, that you should test out and see. Number 4, and to me, this is one of the most important points of a pen, is that you want it to have a retractable tip. The reason for that is because, so the pens with the caps, I just hate them because the caps always get lost, and then you'll have to put it in your pocket with the tip out. The pen could, kind of, burst for whatever reason. You can, especially if you're putting in your pocket over here or down there, you can potentially be marking yourself up just because the tip aren't retracted. And then the nice thing about pens like this is that you can operate these with one hand with retractable tips, and that seems silly. It seems silly that I'm saying it, but like if you're in a situation where so let's assume this was clipped in and you needed to sign something, you got something in one hand, you could literally pull it out, boom, do what you need to do, boom, and then go ahead and slip it back in or put it back in your pants pocket. In another scenario, if it's not, so for example, this is a fountain pen, but so you can't really operate this in one hand. If you can operate this in one hand, that would actually be pretty impressive. So you would pretty much always need 2 hands to be able to open it, do what you need to do, and then close it back up. So I always go for the retractable tip. The next thing is that, which I've kind of already mentioned this, and that is the clip. So you can always clip it onto something to be able to secure it. Next point is cleanliness, or in other words, how easy is the pen to clean? So there's not really a whole lot of grooves to this. As you know, if you work in healthcare, you're gonna have a lot of dirt, a lot of grimes, blood, whatever. I mean, it just happens. And so I think sometimes people can get really into the very kind of fancy pens or whatever, maybe has a lot of decor. And then the issue with pens like that though is that they tend to be harder to clean and wipe down, or there's gonna be like nooks, crannies, or wherever, that you might not be able to clean easily, or let's just be honest, you're probably not gonna think about cleaning. And so I think pens there's not really a whole lot of places where germs can kind of sink into are ideally the best, so that if you grab the wipes, you wipe it from top to bottom, boom, you've gotten just about probably 99% of the surface area on this pen without really thinking about it. The next point is cost. So pens can get, they're not, I doubt it's to the point where nobody can afford it, but if you look at, relative to the cost of a cheap pen, pens can get expensive. So, of course you'll want to think about the cost, how, so the more expensive the pen is, you'll want to, be looking at, is it refillable, and how much are those refills going to cost? Because, if you're getting refills, so I work with a nurse right now, she buys I have some of those pens, which not with me at the moment in this desk, but but she brings to work and she only uses really nice, I think they're actually Pilot pens as well, but she buys the refills for it. And so with the refills, I'm sure she's actually saving a fair bit, obviously not rebuying the same expensive pen, but just buying the refills. If it was a cheap pen, you probably wouldn't fool with the refills. You just toss it out and get a new one. The last point I want to mention about these pens is some of these pens will have cool features as well. You can get ones with a flashlight. So if you're doing a neuro check, there's one that's going to be on the back side of it. You can get one that maybe has a highlighter depending on what your use case is. One that you can attach you know, attached to a lanyard. And of course you can get kind of like your novelty pens, which, you know, they look cool, but they're difficult to kind of wipe down and really clean well. I think that's pretty much all I got to say about this video over pens. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if there's a pen that you just prefer using over others. I'll put a link to you know, to pens that I've tried out in the past that I think are pretty good. But yeah, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, and hit that thumbs up on this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you very soon in that next video.